Well, at least 2 of the matches are good. I'm Joe Rentham with the retro review of WCW Nitro from November 6, 1995. We're heading towards World War III. 3 rings, 60 men, humans said to be together, and a new champion will be crowned. Because after the Giant and the Yeti DP'd Hulk Hogan on a pay-per-view that people paid for, they decided to just take the championship off of the Giant, because that was the only way that Hulk Hogan would ever do a fucking job, is if somebody else got screwed, because Hulk Hogan was a piece of shit, and still is. Now, this show also had the whole theme of interactive, the fans call the shots, they have to, call in and decide the matches. There's a collection of wrestlers in the red, blue locker room, so it's red versus blue, well before that show ever actually happened, well before Halo ever actually existed. And, yeah, it was kind of silly. Bischoff, Heenan, and Mongo on commentary. So, in other words, Bischoff and Heenan on commentary. And the first match is Cobra, not the Cobra Commander, versus the Giant with Jimmy Hart. It was a WCW title match, even though the Giant technically wasn't the champion. He picked up Dave Penzer and said, "No, you're going to announce me as a champion." This is how quick the match was. I think it was 10 seconds. Chokeslam, 1, 2, 3. That's it. That's what Cobra meant. Cobra, retreat, and he got squashed. Mean Gene is in the red locker room. Norton and the Shark, who start fighting sometime later in the show. Big Bubba Rogers, DDP, Flair, and the Blue Bloods, who are drinking tea and reading books because English. And then the blue locker room, Shivani is there, and it's the Nasty Boys, JL, Jerry Lynn under a mask, Jim Duggan, Sting, Johnny B. Bad, Dave Sullivan, and Alex Wright. Dave Sullivan with a rabbit that looked terrified. World War III plug. World War III was a goddamn messy concept. They only ever did 4 of those. I mean, you thought Battle Bowl was ridiculous. This was more ridiculous. And I'm talking Battle Bowl from Starrcade 91 when they did 2 rings. So then a Hogan vignette. Well, there's some guy, white guy, in some makeshift turban playing a guitar on the beach while a weird bearded drunk guy just yells. And then Hogan and Savage are talking about the dark side and the Dungeon of Doom, and it makes no sense. I felt bad for Randy Savage. Sullivan, who got pyro for some reason, Kevin Sullivan that is, versus the Renegade. Yeah, it wasn't much of anything, and this is most notable for what happened afterwards. Sullivan won, by the way. Jimmy Hart pours some water on Renegade, wipes the makeup off his face, and says, "You are nothing, you are just plain old Rick." Man, I can't imagine why Rick Wilson, who played Renegade, was so goddamn depressed. I can't imagine. They basically gave him a gimmick that was never going to work. He won the TV championship, lost it a couple months later, and then got beaten into fucking powder. And it was teamed with Joe Gomez. Nothing against Joe Gomez. And not even the Renegade was ever going to be like a world-class worker, but for fuck's sake, they gave him a terrible gimmick, they jobbed him out, they beat the shit out of him, and then, his unfortunate end. Read up on it if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's just a really unfortunate end, but nothing against Jimmy Hart. He was just told to say this, but God, looking back on it, it was really fucking sad. And then, lights out for a second while Flair is talking in the locker room, and yeah, that was actually kind of goddamn funny. It was really fucking hilarious. Flair covering really nicely. Like, they could turn the lights off and now I'm illuminated again. It was just really funny. And then Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero. Well, at least it was good. It was a well-worked TV match. Benoit attacking from behind. Nice, crab variation. And these guys with some good strikes and everything. Some New Japan guys, Shono and Liger are just sitting at a table headed by Sonny Ono. Where Bobby Heenan's like, "Oh, those are my, my rich friends. Not just because they're rich. I don't like them just because they're rich. How dare anybody accuse Bobby Heenan of that?" Boy, Eddie does a really nice dive outside. Big superplex later, and then a big snap powerbomb. That was really intense stuff. And, of course, Bischoff with some lines in hindsight are really all that good. Benoit, it's really hard to shake this guy. He is so calculated. And after Benoit puts Eddie on the ropes, he hung him out to dry. It's hard to watch Benoit match. And then Eddie, tops Benoit after, countering a super suplex over the ropes. 1, 2, 3, while Benoit's feet are in the ropes, tangled in the ropes. He can't get out. And he's complaining. And Sting says, "Well, he will leave Rick for dead. That's murder, Sting. That's murder. We just had somebody that would end up murdering a couple of people on before. You don't need to actually go and murder anybody, especially before he did. Don't murder anybody is my point. Don't fucking murder people. Don't say you're going to do it on a cable television show. Or any television show. Or in general." So, Sting versus Flair. Sting wants revenge. Sting's revenge. Not NWO WCW revenge. Remember that from the Nintendo 64 era? Or was it WCW NWO revenge? Regardless, it was a fun game. Quick start. Basically, this was given a good amount of time, especially for an hour-long television program. Figure 4 spot. Sting fires up. Flair eventually slows it back down. The referee gets, moved. Sting's like, no, get out of here. Just sit on the frickin', turnbuckle. What's wrong with you? And then loaded punch, elbow, but Flair stalled too long, gets a 2 count. And then the Scorpion, for the win. And, well, he doesn't let up. Now, Sting ends up winning the match, but everybody's trying to reason with him. Officials, so many people that were in the locker room with him before. Here's Luger to, reason with him, and then suddenly Sting says, okay, yeah, we'll leave. Makes no sense. No sense at all. They would end up being tag team champions, I think, sometime in February. I think they would be that until June, which actually was a interesting way of doing it, considering they were on opposite sides, at least for a little bit. And then Mean Gene with the Giant, Jimmy and Jimmy Hart and Kevin Sullivan. Jimmy talks about being, having Hulk Hogan's power of attorney for about, 5 years of this promo. It was great. Jimmy Hart was actually really fired up. It was as close to Memphis Jimmy Hart as we were going to get with the maniacal laugh and the heel run. At least as close as they would allow somebody to be to Memphis Jimmy Hart, who was just fucking great. And a WCW lawyer shows up. The Giant is not the champ. And the title will be put up, at World War III. That's basically what we got right here. So that's it. That's it right there. So yeah, the Giant's all upset, not giving up the championship. But it is what it is. Not a bad show overall. 2 good TV matches. Actually, some pretty good angles that they started to build and, continue from, like Halloween Havoc, which was a shit show. Agree, disagree, what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm Charles Retland. I'll see you soon.